Hello and welcome to Ferrigno Freedom Channel. I'm Dante Ferrigno and I've been on a carnivore diet now known as the Lion Diet for a little over 4 years, and it has done amazing things for me. But that video is another video. Today we are going to be taking a look at the experience of Miss Helen Edwards, who started a carnivore diet about 14 months ago, and it has changed things for her like she never thought they would change things, just like I did. If you are interested more in my story, go back and watch my video, 125 Days on Lion Diet. It'll give you a great run through of what I experienced in my first few months on the Lion Diet and how it changed things like I just never thought it would before. And it just keeps getting better. But the bottom line is we're here today to hear Helen's story because it might be very similar to something that you've experienced. If you've been on the merry-go-round with doctors trying to figure out how to get rid of this pain or this problem or this issue, and all you get is no answers, go see this next specialist, get your medicines refilled and canceled, and go through insurance hassles and all that nonsense. If you're looking to get off of that merry-go-round and you're looking for some real healing, today you might find that answer. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. I thank you for being here. As always, you've been a great part of what's made Ferrigno Freedom a wonderful opportunity for people to learn about something that they never would have thought would have changed their lives, like eating only meat. Before we get started, a quick word from today's sponsor, and we'll roll right into the video. Carnivore Crisps. I'm ready to have something to munch on, but it's a little bit late to be making a whole steak, so that's why I'm glad I've got Carnivore Crisps. And one of my favorites, leg of lamb, and you don't have to break your diet. And the best part is the ingredients. Grass-fed lamb, purified water, regimen real salt. Can't go wrong. Get yours now at carnivorecrisps.com and use my discount code Dante, D-A-N-T-E, to save 10% on your order.
Okay. All right. So my name is Helen Edwards. I am 60 years old. I started the carnivore 14 months ago. And the reason why I started, it was because I was in so much pain. I had pain, headaches, body aches, joint aches, bones. My bones would ache. My gums would ache. My neck, just pain everywhere. And it just hit me while I was at the meetup in Seattle, that I don't know how, but I'm like, it just hit me like every 3 inches of my body going, like, starting from my head and going down. There's something wrong with it. Something. My head, I always had the headaches. My eyes, I had the blurry vision and all that. My nose area, I had all that stuffiness and sinus infection. My teeth, I had the gum disease. They always told me I have a gum disease and bleeding gums. My neck, I had the thyroid and Hashimoto and discs that were messed up and muscles that were like frozen, literally. My neck was frozen for a long time. I couldn't turn my head to the left side like this. Absolutely not. I could just barely go that way and that's it. And then I go down, my shoulders, they hurt. And then I go down, I had tumor in my chest that they had to pull out. And then I go down further and there was like hiatal hernia. And then right there in the middle, there was like a rock that it just felt like it didn't go up or come down, I don't know what they call. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. So yeah, I had this like a rock, and especially at night when I would lay down, this rock would sit right there in the middle of my chest.
Yeah.
So I couldn't lay down because it gets worse. And when I stand up, it was still hurting and radiating all over my chest. I literally spend hours like this on the table, like hunked over a table just to ease the pain. Sleeplessness. I had forgotten what it is to sleep through the night, even like max maybe 3 hours at the most for years. I had myasthenia gravis, and I found out it's an autoimmune disease. It's very rare, and what it usually does, my muscles, my eyes gets droopy, my swallowing muscles would get weak, my facial muscles would get weak, and I had just fatigue all over. I've had that ever since I was 20 years old.
What was it called? Myasthenia Gravis?
Myasthenia gravis, yes. And then I've had the vertigo, the gallbladder, all my ovaries and uterus were full of cysts. I've
Mm.
had fibroid tumors all over. All my young life, when I had my periods, every single month, it was the most debilitating pains. It started with headaches, and then it turned to migraines, and then it turned into throwing up, it turned into dehydration, and then all the constipation and diarrhea. I didn't know exactly what's going to happen. I've ended up in the hospital with period pains where they had to give me um whatchamacallit, IVs, because my body would dehydrate from throwing up. um and then I've had the vertigo, the dizziness, the gallbladder. I ended up in the hospital many times with gallbladder pains, and they told me that I had to remove it. It's like, forget it, I will not remove it no matter what. And then I've had kidney stones ever since I was a teenager. I've ended up in the hospital many times for kidney stones, and they didn't know exactly how are they forming and why am I, and ended up with them. My appendix was removed. I've had C-sections with both of my pregnancies because all those fibroids, they would enlarge so big to where I could not have regular, you know, baby delivery. So, and then I would have hives. I've had itches. I've
Mm.
had eczema all over my hands. At this time of the year, every year, I would have the worst hay fevers. And I was just on uh, Kilt's live, and I did this because I want to tell people how horrible my hay fevers were and my allergies. I literally would have two pieces of Kleenexes. I'll take Kleenexes and I would shove them up my nose like this. And I have gone in public like this because my nose would not quit dripping.
I've been
My
there.
sinus my sinuses were so inflamed. um and then I had the double visions. I had to stop on the side of the road many times from double visions and blurry visions that I was having after I found out I was diabetic, and the aches in my feet and my joints. So you name it. I'm like I told you, every 3 inches of my body have something wrong with it. And so it was 14 months ago, and then the aches and the pains all the way from my joints and my toes, my heels. When I would walk like 15-20 minutes, my heels would hurt so bad that I had to sit down. I was only 59 years old, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't feel like I am in a 90 years old completely full of sickness and pain and disease.
And what was your diet
And
like growing up? It sounds like you've had these since you were very young.
I grew up in Iraq. I've been in America the last 35 years. We weren't rich people, so we ate a lot of grains, bread, wheat. We had a lot of wheat that, we made bread and all that stuff. We ate a lot of that. Rice. We didn't have a lot of meat. We didn't have a lot of money, so we ended up, maybe we would eat once or twice a month. We would have meat. So we grew up really just mostly on breads and vegetables. We did eat a lot of vegetables, but we didn't have like supplements. We didn't have a lot of eggs because we did have chickens, but my mom had to sell the eggs, for to make the money. My dad was the only one that worked. So that's how I grew up. It wasn't a whole lot of meat and stuff.
Right.
So it just seems like as I grew older, there's always something coming up, something like like every 6 months. It seems like every year a new sickness and a new disease was showing up, like H. pylori, like hiatal hernia, like just my my stomach would, every time I ate, it would be in knots. I had like knots, like there was war going on, and then the bloating, and it's like I wish I didn't eat. How can I get rid of this whatever it's in there? That feeling
Yeah.
where I just wish if it
Oh, I
wasn't
know.
there.
Yes, I know that
So
feeling of wishing it wasn't there. Did your diet change when you came to the United States initially? Did you try to? And I mean, obviously, you had
It's
more options available at the time. So,
there was more options, absolutely. And that's one thing when I first came here, and I would see so many different things on the table. It's like, wow, and it's like you just eat and eat. It's like, the fries, the burritos and the tacos and the hamburgers and all that. So yeah, there was so much more variety, and I'm like, okay, then now there's food and I can eat. But it was all poison. It was all poisons. Um, and my sicknesses just kept getting worse and worse. And to where when I was 59, it's like, this is not life. I literally felt like I was expiring. My body was dying. I, honest to God, can see it in my mind's eyes that my body was dying. And I'm laying down in bed and thinking, this is not life. This is death and misery. And that one night when I'm laying down and I can't, every way I turned, I would go on my shoulder and on my side, and my shoulder would be hurting and my neck would be hurting so much. I would go on my back and then my head is hurting and my hips are hurting. I would turn on my, it's like there was no position that I could feel rest where I could fall asleep. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I put my hands up to heaven while I'm laying down. It's like, please, God, help me. And I honestly believe that's when God heard my cry of my heart. And then I couldn't sleep. So I, of course, got the phone and I just went to YouTube. And I go there and I come across Carrie Man. He had the basket of all them pills, and he tossed them behind his back. And that's what caught my eyes. And I'm like, what is he talking about? So I started listening more and more. And it was just like ding, the light came on. It was like, wow, what in the world? I thought, this is crazy. And then after that, you know how YouTube sends you more and more videos. I guess they see what you watch, and so I started watching more, and then I came across Ken Berry, and then SBG Girl, Bella, and then other ones. And within 3 days, I was sold. I'm like, that's it. I'm starting this, and this is my last try. There is no other way. I'm not going to the doctors because I know what they're gonna do, and
I'd
I'm
like
not
to
gonna
know
be
a
on TV.
little
Right.
bit of the history of what the doctors did with you. I know you mentioned you had your gallbladder taken out. Did they
No,
tell
no,
you why?
they wanted to take my
Oh, they
gallbladder
wanted
out,
to.
but I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. So I came home and I went online and started learning, natural way of dealing with it. So vinegar, putting water in vinegar, and then olive oil, and I started doing that, and then cutting up all the fatty food and the meat. It's like, I'll do anything. I don't want to be cut up. So it did calm down, but it would still come back every now and then. Like if I ate avocado, it was like poison for me. An avocado, um, it would irritate my gallbladder like within minutes. I ended up in the hospital after eating one avocado, half avocado one day.
So, what were the
Uh,
doctor's suggestions as you were going through these many issues through your life?
Pain pills. I had some kind of infection in my stomach. I was on every strongest antibiotics for like 4 months when I had my second baby. There was an infection. They couldn't find out where it is in my body. And all they did, they pumped me with all kind of antibiotics. I was in and out of the hospital. They never gave me an answer. They
Hmm.
didn't know. They were practicing. That's what it is. They were just practicing to see what is going to work.
There was a comedian who
And
once said, "It's just guessing in white coats."
yep, That is
And,
very true.
and these days, it seems like their only answer is to throw medicine at it, and they're not sure what the medicine's going to do. And then you have
Right.
doctors not talking to each other, and they're putting you on different medicines that conflict with each other. And I think a lot of people have a similar experience of going to the doctor and going to the doctor and going to the doctor and not getting any answers, not getting any progress, but we keep going.
Yep.
It's like, what else are you going to do?
Yes. So I saw that happening to my mom and dad. They both are diabetic. My dad's both legs were amputated. One was below his knee and the other one above his knee. And he was on dialysis for 6 long, horrible years, 3 times a week. He
Hmm.
hated his life. My mother has congestive heart failure. She's blind, and she's always like at the hospital from urine infection. Like every other month, she has UTIs from diabetes, and then her lungs get filled up with like fluid, so she has to go and they make holes in her sides and drain her lungs. She is miserable, and she's been that way for 40 years. And my brother's diabetic on a bunch of medication. My sister is diabetic, and I'm like, I made up my mind, I will not live that life. I cannot see myself going to the doctor every month or every 2 months and having to write me a prescription and going over to the you know pharmacy and picking up the poison and putting in my body. I just wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to, like, this is not the life I want to live. And so with carnivore, it just magically they disappeared. You know what I mean? All the pains, all the misery, all the sleeplessness, all the anxiety, all the throwing up, all the headaches, all the migraines, and even I found out I had thyroid hypothyroidism and Hashimoto, and most of the symptoms are gone. I mean, I still have a little bit, but it's not even noticeable.
Do you have to do
So
anything special to supplement for that? Or because I hear about sometimes people talk about what they have to take for Hashimoto's or hypothyroid, even though they're on carnivore.
yeah, I do take iodine and selenium. Those together helped a lot. And then, of course, the vitamin D and then zinc. And I do take potassium and magnesium, like 3 different kind of magnesiums. So they help a lot, and I see, yeah, a great improvement.
Were you taking
So
a lot of those supplements before you started doing carnivore?
I didn't know about the iodine or the selenium, which are together are very, very vital for the hormones, the
Mm-hmm.
thyroid hormones. I didn't know about him, but I learned about him from not Pastor, Dr. Dr. Ken Berry.
Ken Berry, yeah.
Yeah, he talked about it and the selenium. And then I started watching Elizabeth Bright, and she talks about all that.
Yeah, she goes into a
And
lot of detail on thyroid.
yes, I've watched hundreds of videos like in the past 14 months. And I literally feel like I've been through university of education, like a whole 4 to 6 years, education. And I just try to learn as much as I can, because that's the life I want to live. I'm not going to depend on doctors. I'm not going to depend on pills. No, I'd rather die than pop pills every day.
But up until you were
That
59, you were used to taking a lot of pills for a while there. Is that what I'm understanding?
I
Okay.
had a jar of pills that had allergy pills, that had heartburn pills, pain pills, you name it. I had them all in a jar, and I carried that for years everywhere I went, because I never know what's gonna happen. So I have the pill to pop it in my mouth again, because I couldn't function with that. The pain pills, especially, um, the migraine pills. Oh my word! The joint aches and pains that, like in my knees, in my bones, like inside my bone, like it was painful. So yeah.
And
My
always just
jaws.
temporary relief, I take it, with the pills.
Yep, that's all what it was.
And you can't get
And
those pills without having to go back and see them every 3 months and make sure they're billing
right,
your insurance or billing you directly. And you're just stuck on
honestly,
that merry-go-round.
yeah, I went to Mexico a lot because I would buy them there cheaper. Um, and that's one thing I always wanted to go there, because you could just buy anything you want to, and you go to the doctor and tell them what's going on, and they would sit and listen, because doctors up here is just like psh, 5 minutes. And like I was telling what's Dr. Nelson a little bit ago. I went because I had that rock inside my chest right there. It turned out to be heartburn. He's like, you have the worst heartburn case. And then he writes me pills that I'm supposed to stay on for the rest of my life. And I didn't have insurance, and I had to pay up front $450. And he only gave me 10 minutes of his time and wrote the prescription and sent me to the pharmacy. And the,
Yeah.
the pills were $200. I'm like, I can't pay $200 just for pills for and that was only 14 days worth of pills. So, and then I decided, I was like, I'm not going to be on those pills. I'm just not going to take any more pills. And so, I'm so thankful I found Carnivore. Thank you, God.
So you stopped taking the pills shortly after going on carnivore, or you found less need for them, or what was the case with that?
When I found Carnivore and I started on it, within the first 2 weeks, no headaches, no stomach problems, no gagging. I would make food, and I would look my favorite food, and I would look at it, and it almost made me want to gag. I mean, my favorite foods, literally, there was no more. My taste buds weren't even working anymore. And it was like, I can't, something is wrong. Something is really, really wrong.
What were some of
So
your
yeah,
favorite foods just before carnivore? What was your normal diet like? I know you had mentioned on previously that you'd even tried vegan for a little while, so I was wondering what your because sometimes people talk about switching to carnivore, and just going straight to carnivore can be dangerous. I went straight to carnivore and it's been wonderful. But there's always these people out there that are saying that they had issues from whatever. So I was just curious what your diet was like just before you switched, and then what did you eat specifically when you started? Like, what was that first week like? What was those first few days? What were you making?
so I loved vegetables. I loved greens, any kind of greens. You give me a ball of greens, and I would literally sit and chew on it like a rabbit. And people have seen that, and they looked at me and they thought that was weird. But I loved greens. I would buy like a parsley. The Italian parsley was like one of my favorites. I can cut it up. I can take a whole thing of parsley, wash it, and sit down and eat it with a piece of bread. That's how I ate greens. I ate lettuce, like romaine lettuce, just wash it and then sit down and chew the whole head of lettuce just like a rabbit. And thinking this was all good for me. And I learned to eat it, you know. Um, so when I would cook, there was like all kind of dishes that were vegetables. Maybe I'll eat meat, maybe a couple times, maybe one or two times a week at the most. And it wasn't much at all. And then breads, of course. And so I had the green smoothies after I learned, and they were doing all the green smoothies. I have 3 different blender sizes to make all those green smoothies, and I had all these powders, organic powders of beetroots and moringa and all the kind of mushrooms and kale powders, you name it. And I would take a whole chunk, of spinach and put it in the blender and add a spoon of this and a spoon of that and a spoon of this and that, and then just chug it down, thinking I was doing myself, giving myself health. And the more I did it, the sicker I got. The more I did it, the worse it got. To where like I told you, I was looking, these are my favorite things that I do. And I would look at them, it's like, it almost made me want to gag. It's like I'm not enjoying it. I don't have, I can't even taste it anymore.
Yeah, I was
And
going to
so
ask if you actually enjoyed it because you felt like it tasted good, like this was like enjoyable eating, or was it because you were convinced that this was the healthy way and this was going to be the answer? Because sometimes I know in the past when I used to eat vegetables, if they weren't covered in butter or cheese, it was like, no way. I knew I hated eating them, but I'd convinced myself like asparagus was my favorite. As long as it was soaked in butter, it was my favorite, and so on. But I was just curious if that was your experience or if you actually truly enjoyed eating those vegetables.
honestly, because I watched so much about all those health videos and greens, and to where I almost convinced myself it's the healthy thing, so I should enjoy it. And they make it look so good on all those videos and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And now looking back, I'm like, I really didn't enjoy, not even from the time I bought them till the time I consumed them. It was always work. I would clean them up. I was clean freak, so I would have baking powder. I'll put them. I mean, baking soda. I'll put them in baking soda and put a little bit of vinegar on there and wash them 2-3 times, and then store them just right so they'll be nice and fresh when I get them out. And a lot of times they'll go bad in the refrigerator and they end up in trash. So I'm thinking, it's like, you know what? I really did not enjoy buying them, going through the headache of washing them and do all that until the time I got to eat them. And then, so it was all more like a programming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Because I was convinced for the longest time that I hated salt. And I love salt. Now I've
Me
found out ever
too.
since I went carnivore. But before, the taste of salt to me told me blood pressure was going to be high. Cut that out. That's bad. You don't want that. So it was like I was convinced it tasted bad. I was a sweet lover too. So
Yeah.
it was easy for me to say, oh, I'm a sweets guy, not a salt guy. And now it's like the total opposite. But it isn't because I've been programmed to think that way. It's because my body responded and said, hey, this is what you're
Yes.
missing. And it sounds
Yes.
like that's what you're experiencing.
Yes. I love salt.
Hey, folks, real quick, I wanted to come talk to you about one of the keys to my carnivore diet that has made it such a success for me, and that's good, clean salt. And today I'm talking about Redmond Real Salt, and it is just the best tasting salt I've ever had. I have their smoked salts. This is one of my favorites, the cherry smoked salt. I even use their earth powder, which is great for keeping your teeth clean. If you're interested in getting some Redmond salt, go to my link in the description or just go to redmond.life and use my discount code Dante and you'll save 15% on your order. Now back to the video.
I mean, I don't even drink water anymore without salt. I have to have at least like what, a quarter teaspoon in here of
Yeah.
salt, pink salt, every day. So yeah, something about salt in my body is just, it gives me energy almost immediately. It just feels right and it feels balanced. Like, how can I explain this? As soon as I drink it, it almost feel like it's it's right. My thinking, my movement, it's just something about it. Like something was missing and you put it in and it filled the void or whatever it was there. So I don't
Were
know how
you
it
and are
works.
you a coffee drinker?
Not really.
You weren't
Wasn't.
before?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I drink it because it was a cool thing to do. I can count on my fingers how many times I've stopped at a Starbucks, and I always thought it was crazy that people pay $5 almost for a stupid cup of. I'm kind of like a penny pincher, and to pay $5 for a cup of coffee is like, I thought they are gone to gone to town. They're wacko. So, but I do drink every now and then, like every now and then, but it's nothing like I have to have it.
Well, the reason I ask is I know that I was a coffee drinker before I went Lion Diet, and when I quit drinking coffee, I thought, oh, this is going to be the worst. But I remember when I started having water with my salt with my water, that it seemed to give me that same energy. And I learned that from Michaela Peterson, that was where the missing electrolytes were. That when I was doing Atkins diet, the reason I wasn't keeping any energy is my body was just letting those electrolytes go. And you need them. You need a little bit more. At least most people do. I understand some people can get away without all the extra electrolytes, but I definitely needed them. And I know my wife has even commented that she notices it when she has that salt water or she just has a lick of salt sometimes. It's like a
Yes.
energy pick me up that we're missing that salt. So what
Yeah.
you said you were doing juicing and a lot of stuff like that before. When you went
Yes.
to carnivore diet, what some people tell me they have a problem with when they were juicing a lot of greens like that is that they had oxalate dumping. Did you experience anything like that?
Yes, I had the worst oxalate dumping. It was horrible. Couple times I almost ended up in the hospital, but God had mercy because I came across Michaela Peterson. No, 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 not Michaela. Wait, let me see. Sally K. Norton.
Valley Norton, yeah.
One day it was so bad, and I was laying down, and I'm like, I have the flu or something, and it wasn't totally flu, but it was similar symptoms, but it was 100% worse. Where my head, there was so much pressure in my head, and then my body was like almost like saturated with stuff. I don't know what it was going on, but I'm like, this is does not feel good. I'm like, I need to go to the hospital, and I was so debilitated. I can't move. Every way I'm moving, the pain was excruciating. And I was on YouTube, and then I come across Sally K. Norton, and I believe it was a divine appointment. And then she's talking about oxalate and how to deal with it. And she said, when you feel that, get up and get tea. And I literally crawled to the stove and made, I think it was either black tea or green tea, or I mixed both of them because I needed to get out of that, whatever it was. And I started sipping and sipping on it. And within a couple hours, my symptoms kind of subsided. I've had the oxalates come out of my eyes, literally crystals. And when I had oxalate dumping, my eyes would feel like there was glue, like real glue in them, where I could not close and open my eyelids. I've had them coming out of my nose, like little gritty things. I've had them come out of my gums.
Mm,
Like, I'm like, like when you eat an egg and then there's the little pieces of the shell,
yeah,
you know, I had them in my mouth like crazy
yeah.
for like weeks. And then I would have hives, and I would have itchings and like spots and blotches, like especially up here, and then on my arms, up here, and then behind my knees, around my ankles, and they'll be so itchy and just uncomfortable. And then after a couple days, I would see like little sandy, gritty things coming out of my skin. So yeah, I had horrible oxalate dumping, and that's one thing I always tell people: if you're gonna go on carnivore, you need to watch something about oxalate dumping. And I never ever knew anything about oxalate dumping before that. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
And so
I,
I was glad I came across her videos.
I had heard Sally
And
Norton talk about if you've been doing a lot of juicing of greens, before you jump into carnivore, you want to kind of do a transition of having some of those greens along the way and just
yeah,
progressively removing them out, only because the effect is so dramatic when you have that change that it can be very difficult and painful. How long into your carnivore journey before you started experiencing that oxalate dumping?
I think it was about 3 weeks. It was about 3 weeks when it
Three
started
weeks.
happening. Like I've always had itching skin and hives and eczema on my hands and certain parts of my body, but this was different. This was kind of different, and I'm like, oh well, just like another, another thing that popped up. Like every year there's something that pops up, that I get diagnosed with, but when I heard the oxalate dumping and then I start feeling it after like a couple of days, it's like, oh, this is real. This is so real. I can feel the sandy gritty stuff on my skin.
Did,
And it was itchy and all that.
did you initially feel like, oh my gosh, even the carnivore is not working now or something right when it first started happening?
I honestly did. And it was
Yeah.
discouraging, but there was just a voice in my heart. I believe it was God that just kept keep going, keep going. The first 6 months I didn't even lose any weight. There was no weight loss. In fact, I almost feel like I had put weight on. And I never weighed myself because I didn't start about weight at all. And so it was discouraging the first 6 months. But the couple things that happened the first 2-3 weeks, like I was able to sleep through the night
Mm.
from like 11 o'clock until 6 or 7, and not having to get up and go to the bathroom, because with diabetes, you go to the bathroom a lot at night. Like it was 2 or 3 times every night. And then when I came back, I couldn't even rest or go to sleep because you just can't. Um, and so when I slept through the night, that was, oh Lord, I cried so hard the first few months. I would just get so emotional. Like, I slept through the night. I can't believe I didn't get up. It's, I don't know, maybe for other people it's different, but for me I was so exhausted, like fatigued and
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah.
My eyes be like so inflamed all around my eyes and my eyelids, especially the eyelids, because I wanted to get the surgery done. They were so puffy on the top. And I would like rub and rub every morning just to be able to open my eyes. So these are some of the changes that started right away. And then my snoring was gone. And then my bleeding gums that I bled for years was gone. It was just gone. I'm like, and then I started hearing other carnivores and they're saying, yeah, my snoring stopped, my bleeding. I was like, that's what happened to me. Like, and I literally jumped up and down. It's like, yes, it's working. And I'm like, thank you, God. And I would write it down. I had a little list that I was writing down all of this. And so just little things at first. And then I was getting energy and I would go and walk. And then there was days that I would walk for 3 to 5 miles and come back, and I would sit down, and then within an hour, it's like I can go walk another 3 to 5 miles. The recovery was so fast, and I had the energy. My feet weren't hurting, my heels weren't hurting, my knees weren't hurting, and there was that get up and go. Just get up and go that I haven't had in years.
Well, it sounds like some
So
amazing changes. And I'm glad you brought up the oxalate dumping because that's something I'd like to make sure people who are new on this are aware of. They want to maybe take some steps as they ease into this because I wasn't doing a lot of juicing and things like that before I came into it. I'd already quit drinking sodas too, so I wasn't drinking a lot of sugar. But some people come into it on a heavy sugar or even a heavy greens diet, like you were talking about, and it can be an issue. You
yeah,
have mentioned that initially you didn't lose any weight. Did you eventually lose weight?
yeah, it took about 6 months before my weight started coming off, but there was changes in my body. Like I always looked like I was pregnant, even at 59 years old. I think you've seen my before and after pictures on Carrie Mann's. It's this middle of my body, like from here to here, it was just big. It was round and big, and there was nothing I could do to make it go down. I've done the stomach exercises, I've done the stretching, I've tried everything. It was just like I didn't have a waist. And so finally, when after about 6 months, I can feel, my weight wasn't completely going down, but there was shifting in whatever the fat or whatever, was moving around. And all of a sudden, it's like, wow, this feels better. It's like, so I put a dress on and I'm like, I'm getting a waist finally. So, and then after that, and then I learned about eating more and more fat, and I was adding more and more butter, like, to my food. And that's when the more fat I was eating, that's when I started losing more and more weight.
How much weight did you lose in the end? I mean, since from the time that you maybe started or you were your heaviest until now.
So it's been at least between 60 to 65. I'm a very small person. I'm only 4'11",
Oh
and I'm
wow.
supposed. Yeah, I'm short. And so I had to be at least 165. I really, at the time, I didn't even weigh myself. I didn't care about what. All I wanted was to get rid of sicknesses and pain
Right.
and all. And so thank God that, the weight came off. It was like they say, it's the icing on the cake, literally, losing the weight. So I've lost close to 60 something pounds, and now I am at 110, which is my ideal weight, my teenage weight that I never, ever, ever dreamed of being, at my teenage weight.
I know.
So,
Isn't that amazing? I'm at my teenage wrestling weight, and it just blows me away because I never thought I would be there again. I've even been, I didn't know what weight I was before I was on the wrestling team. It was the only time I ever focused on weight and said, okay, 189 is my target. And now I hang around 189, 190 on a regular basis. But I actually got down to 176 at one point while I was doing this, but I was doing a lot of exercise too. I was working at UPS. And I thought, man, the last time I was 176, I was probably 12 years old because I was always a big kid. So
yeah,
it is something to be able to be in your 50 plus and you're 60, you say, right?
I'm
So
60. Yes,
to be your high
yes,
school weight is got to be wonderful and feels a lot better on your body not to have to carry that around. And it sounds like you were swollen, like maybe your organs
yes.
were surrounded by a lot of fat. Maybe that visceral fat was causing you a lot of damage.
I was definitely swollen. Absolutely. And I've never felt healthier ever, ever. Because all the way from the time I was 6 and 7 and 8, I still remember when we would run or play, my face would get so red, my neck would get so red, and I would have difficulty breathing. And I just did not feel right. And people would look at me like other kids and they say, "Why is your face so red?" Because my eyes would look so white. Yeah.
Yeah.
So never felt healthy. Never healthy as I am now. And I always got sunburn. I've literally had, where it gets, what is it called? The skin pops up and
Peeling
there's water. No, the water under
blisters.
the blisters.
Yeah.
I used to get blisters all the time. I hated it. And now I can go in the sun for all day long and it doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah. I
So
love that too. You mentioned diabetes. So what are your blood sugars and A1Cs looking like now? Have you seen the doctor since you've been on carnivore and found out how your blood sugars look? Are you still technically diabetic?
I am not. It's down in the 90s. And like 3 months ago, I could taken it because I know what I feel when my blood sugar, is high and lows. I know what I feel. So I don't have the dry mouth. I don't have the aches and pains. I don't have the numbness in my hands and feet. Like
No
before, I would
neuropathy.
wake up, yeah, and I was like, something is wrong. I don't feel the bottom of my feet, like
Yeah.
needles and stuff. I don't have none of that stuff. So it's been, I bought the Keto Mojo, and I was checking it every day and I could see it's getting better and better. It's like, forget it. I know what to do. And I haven't checked it, to tell you the truth. Like, it's been like 2 months because it was consistently, normal.
So you were
So
insulin dependent on your diabetes before?
no,
No. Okay.
no, did not take insulin. But I know if I had gone to the doctors, they would have totally put me on that because I've seen what my mother and father and brother and sister, all of them are on it.
Have you had your
So
A1C check since you started? Do you know what it was?
I did, and I did it in the Philippines in September, last September. And it was 5, it was down to somewhere in the 5.9 or something.
Okay. So it was still in the
5.9.
pre-diabetic range then, but your blood sugar
Yeah.
not being high makes a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely. I know what I feel like, what it feels like, because my mouth would get so dry, my eyes would get so dry. It's just like my whole body did not feel right. And then I would get the complete sleepy as soon as I would eat. It's like I went into coma after eating.
Well, not
Um,
having the neuropathy pains is a huge sign because that's like that's the sign that something bad is coming. That's the sign that leads up to, you mentioned your father had his legs amputated. My father went through the
yep.
same thing and he had that neuropathy and he was doing pool exercises. And then one day he came
Okay.
home with a blister on his toe and before long he had no foot and then eventually he had no leg and then eventually he was dead and this all happened within a 2-year period of time. So, not having that neuropathy is a huge sign that you're getting better. I'd love to hear what your A1C is on your next doctor visit. I know you don't go to see him unless you absolutely have to. So,
Yes, I'm planning to do it. I'm planning to do it. It's time. Yeah, it's time. And the antibodies in my body, and it was so high, the number. I need to get the papers out. I did every single test they could do over there in the Philippines. It's so cheap. It was only $159, and
yeah.
I said, do whatever test you can do. So I just need to get it out. There's something, it's me personally, when I don't concentrate on those numbers and on all those things and take that energy and concentrate on how to do things right and be more and more consistent of
Yeah.
doing and eating what's right, it was to me a lot more important and helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I get exactly what you're saying. The only reason I ask is that people that are watching will have that question and it comes up so often that I like to try to maybe see if we can get to the root of some of that ahead of time. That way they won't be wondering, well, what's her blood work look like and all those kind of things. But you haven't had anything done in quite some time. Geez, it's almost been 9 months now since you've had anything checked. And I
Yeah.
assume your A1C was higher than that because that was still just pre-diabetic range. You said you were told you had diabetes, so it should have been over
Yes.
6. I think
Yes.
6.1 or something like that is diabetic range. I could be mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I know I had it, and they told me I had gestational diabetes with both of my kids. I was on insulin the whole time I was pregnant with them. So, and it was, I knew it was there, but I just didn't want to take the pills. I didn't want to go on whatever they do to people.
So
So
what medicines are you taking now?
zero, totally zero, not even pain pills, and it's been 9 months, not even one pain pill.
That's fantastic.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I know there's a lot of people out there who are on the merry-go-round. They're going to the doctors on a regular basis and they got to get these things filled and they're just not seeing any end in sight. They're not seeing any solutions. They're not getting any answers. And it sounds like you found your answers simply by changing the way you eat.
Hopeless and helpless, and my heart aches because we're programmed to think we're rich with money, with stuff, with things. But honestly, richness, now that my thinking has gotten so cleared up and so I can think right, and I can see, I feel richer than any billionaire out there. I literally honestly feel like I have hit the jackpot of health, which is, comparing to jackpot millions of money, it's way bigger. It's way bigger than any millions out there, because I can sleep every night in peace. I put my head on the pillow and I don't have to listen to my body, especially this middle part of my body, to see what's going on. It's like the noises, the pains, all over. There was no peace inside my skin. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. There was no peace in my head, no peace in my ears, no peace inside this body. It was just turmoil, turmoil. I still remember, I don't know if I said that here, but there was a feeling that it felt like I was going crazy, because I would feel every single cell in my body would be shivering, would be like the word like shivering, you know what I mean?
Vibrating.
Every, yeah, vibrating and
Hmm.
shivering, and it's like, what is going on? And I didn't feel comfortable telling people, because they would think I was crazy. They was
Yeah.
like, what is, you know what I mean? So yeah, there was just so many different things happening. Like I would wake up and the side of my face would be numb, and I'm like, how come there's no feeling in here? And I would pinch, and I'm like, what is wrong? And then it would twitch, and it's like I put my hand on. It's like, please God, do something about it, because I'm not gonna go to the doctor. And then sometimes I would wake up like top of my hand, like this, like here, and it has no feelings. And I'm like, why is this way? And the same thing, I put my hand on, it's like, okay, God, you need to do something about it, or else, um like my eyes, they would get so blurry. I had to pull to the side of the road, because I know I wasn't safe being on the road, and wait and sit and pray. And it's like, okay, do something about it. I lived that way for years. Dizziness, vertigo, just so much. And now it's like, it's gone. It's just gone. How could you get that knowing? Like, how could you get um a treasure? To me, it's the most amazing treasure that I own. I have right now within me, in my heart, in my mind, that when something's wrong with my body, I almost can figure it out just like that. Like if I ate like 2 or 3 tablespoons of yogurt or ice cream, like I know exactly 2 3 hours later, I know what's gonna happen. And all I have to do, cut that out for 2 3 days, and then it's gone. you know um and I tried things, like with yogurt, because I'm lactose intolerant, and I'm not, I just can't tolerate dairy. And so now if I have a problem, it's like, okay, no dairy. That's fine. I don't want to lose this feeling of peace, this feeling of goodness inside my skin, this feeling of, it's good. I feel right. I feel right inside. My mind feels right. I can think clearly. I can hear people when they're talking. I can hear all the words they're saying, and I'm able to focus on the conversation and talk. Before, I would be looking at them and hearing, but I didn't hear everything. And honestly, it was sometimes very the word, what is the word? I would be um like embarrassed, because they were talking to me and I didn't hear it. I didn't know. It's like, what were they talking? Fog, brain fog. I didn't know I
Yeah.
had brain fog until it's gone now.
Yeah, I think a part of
So
that is that when you're in a lot of pain, it's hard to focus on what other people are saying because you're focused on all the problems you're experiencing at that moment, and it's like you
yes,
you can't hear them because you're only hearing what's going on inside of you. I know that
yes.
feeling too. I know that feeling too.
And dread, the feeling of dread whenever the sun is going down and it's time to put up with all that pain through the night.
Yeah.
You, you know that? It's like, oh,
Yes.
there's going to be another long night, God. How it's going to, you know,
Now
just,
that's
oh,
gone.
man,
One thing you
thank
didn't
God.
really say, what's your daily meal like today? What did you eat today?
Today I've only had 4 soft-boiled eggs. And the thing is, it kind of depends how I eat, depends on how much physical, work I done. When I was walking a lot, you know, 3 to 5 miles every day, 6 miles sometimes, and more. then I would get a lot more hungry, and I can tell my body needed more. So I would eat a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were days that I've eaten 10 eggs and 2 pieces of meat, like this big, literally. And it felt good. It felt right. So, but yeah, I eat a lot of eggs every day, at least 6 to 8 eggs a day. So this morning I had four. Now a little bit later, I'm going to have a piece of meat with maybe 3 or 4 eggs again. There's
What
just
kind of
something about eggs with my body.
what kind of meat are you thinking about having later?
Oh, I love chuck eye steaks.
Chuck eye
My
steaks? Yeah, those are great.
favorite. Yes, yes, and we have store here, and they sell it. They always have it. So I just get as many packages as I can, and I always have two sitting in the refrigerator ready to cook. And so, and then I have the hamburger meat, but I can't eat a whole big. It's not that I can't eat it; it doesn't taste good. So I make those hamburger bites. I made a video of how to make them.
Oh
I
yeah,
just make them like really small, and I make them flat and put them in the air fryer, and they're just like a bite, literally. So that's how I eat the ground beef,
hamburger.
and I
Okay, I was going to
love them.
ask about that. I was going to
I
ask
like
about
them.
that because I've had to get used to a little more ground beef lately. Because as you mentioned, we got to watch the prices. The prices have been going a little bit crazy, and that's been going on for a long time. Just bad financial management with our Federal Reserve and things like that for the longest time. Hopefully, they'll get that under control one of these days. But anyway, I wanted to ask about that because that's something that a lot of people are having to do, and eating the lesser expensive meats. And chuck eye is a good choice for lesser expensive. It's less expensive than rib eye, a little bit more sometimes than chuck roast, but sometimes I understand if you buy the whole roast, you get the chuck eye with it, so you get a little bit of both there.
Yes, and I do that a lot. I
Yeah.
I have two roasts that I bought, and I do the same thing. Just cut it into like thinner pieces and put it on the grill. I love grilling almost every day. And yeah, and then liver. I do eat liver almost every day, like one piece of liver like this big. And I learned to fry it in beef tallow. I soak it in the beef tallow with salt, and it's delicious. I can't even wait for it to cook. When I'm cooking, it's like just fry it real fast and get it hot and put salt on it and just eat. The liver, really, my body craves it. Beef liver. And then I started eating beef heart, and I like that too. I make it
Yeah.
thin and fry it in the tallow. So I did a lot of beef broth. So I buy the neck bones. I called the grocery stores here and I asked them. And so I have them order for me like a box of neck bones. And they always have meat on the neck bones. And so I put those in the pressure cooker, and I drink broth a lot, beef broth.
Is this chicken neck bones or
Beef.
beef neck bones? So do you do
Beef
chicken
neck.
or pork?
I did at first, but then for some reason my body was not feeling good, especially with pork. Now the chicken I can eat, the one that no hormones and raised, um, humanely, whatever, organic. I can do chicken like that maybe once or twice a month, but I'm not crazy for it. But it's nothing like beef. Beef and
Yeah.
eggs, organic. Yeah,
I noticed when you get to where you eat a lot of beef, chicken just doesn't taste right anymore. That was the
it does.
experience that I had. Well,
You're right.
I
Yeah.
wanted to find out, like, also, do you do cheese or seafood or anything like that? Is there any dairy mixed in?
I tried the first few months, but it did not work with me at all. It would make me bloated and gives me cramps, the dairy, and then makes me itch. Um, I don't know what's in it because I had eczema all over my hands, and they're gone, thank God. So it brings all those, and then it literally gets me stuffed up within like an hour. I get all congested in my nose, my face, my sinuses. Dairy does that for me.
Okay. Well, I wanted to dig a little deeper into it because anybody watching this that might be experiencing some of the pains and issues that you had might want to know specifically, well, what did she switch to and how did it work and what should I do? So, if first thing I want to ask you is, what would you say to anybody out there who's going through various pains, and they're on the merry-go-round with their doctors and they're getting pain medicines and all these things, what would you suggest to them to get started with?
I would say, please, please, please just do it. Set your mind on it and then start watching videos. Start watching all, how to begin, how to start, and then learn about oxalates, learn about how dairy affects your body, because a lot of people are lactose intolerant, and then dairy really, really messed them up. Like me, it really messed me up. So do a lot of research, but just start it. Even if you don't go a full carnivore right away, start little by little. Cut the gluten, cut the breads. 2-3 weeks later, cut the sugars down. 2-3 weeks later, cut the the veggies or whatever, and just work yourself up, because there is some benefits you will not see until you do it. Everybody's body is different, and the benefits that I saw is totally different than you will see or other people see. It's because we are so different. Just do it, and then make a plan, and educate yourself as much as you can, and I know 100% there'll be improvements, tremendous improvements, with every aspect. In fact, it wasn't just for me, it wasn't just physically, mentally. I feel so much better, so much more balanced. I mean, I know I get excited. It seems like I'm crazy, but what has happened with this carnivore, like mentally, emotionally, I had emotions that were so suppressed and so much trauma in my body that now I'm able to go way back and think about it and look at it and process it. And whatever is too big for me to handle, I'm able to put it aside and say, okay, God, you're going to have to take care of that part because it's too big for me, and turn back. And it's like, okay, this is my part that I'm going to do. Does it make sense what I'm saying,
Yeah,
Dante? Okay.
absolutely.
So it helped me in every aspect of my life, and financially it's so much cheaper. It is so much easier in so many ways to look at your pocketbook and see how much you're spending. It's like, oh my word. But we're not buying all the junk, so all the stress of how much I'm spending, the stress of how I'm gonna go to the store and find all the healthy junk, and it's all gone. I go to the store, I know exactly what to buy, pick it up, go through the cash register, come home, and I know exactly what to do. So there's so many things that will change. It's changed my life.
Yeah, and I know you're
So
not throwing away food anymore.
yes.
Yeah, we talked
So the
about that.
benefit of the carnivore is it's for healing, for health, financial, mental, in every way. Yeah, just do it.
If you could say in 5 words, what has carnivore done for you?
It healed. It's balanced my existing, body, soul, spirit, and it rich. I feel richer than a billionaire. Um, it gave me a second chance to life, and brought me closer to God. I mean, they're just like, it's more than 5 words, but these are the 5 benefits. Like, it's amazing.
I get it. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story because you're very enthusiastic about it. And I know there's people out there who are hurting and suffering and wondering the same things that you were wondering before you got started. And I'm hoping your story would be able to help at least one person out there to be able to see what the answer is and what the answer could be for them. And it certainly could be the carnivore diet. I know it has been for me. It has been for Helen. It's changed things in my life like I never thought changing the way I would eat would change things. I wasn't even thinking about weight loss just like she was, but I've lost over 100 pounds and I'm in the best shape of my life at age 52. She's feeling she's in the best shape of her life at age 60. So it's not too late for you to get your health back. If you want to look into it, you can check out more on my channel. You can check out a lot of the other doctors that she mentioned, and you can get the information that you need that's going to change your life. So thank you for tuning in today with us. And thank you for being here, Helen, and sharing your story.
Thank you for the invite. Appreciate it very much.
Again, folks, thank you for being here today. We will see you next time on Ferrigno Freedom Channel.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?
Hey, it's Dante Ferrigno. I just wanted to thank you first of all for watching this video, but I also wanted to tell you about my merch shop. I have a link in the description for a bunch of different items I've put together for you to be able to show your support for the carnivore lifestyle, and every purchase helps me to keep doing what I'm doing here on Ferrigno Freedom.